Good evening, everyone. This is the GSA podcast. Welcome, everyone, to our YouTube channel. We have two very special guests tonight. We have Rowdy. Please introduce yourself. You can.
Rowdy Press. I'm CTO of RoamStay out of Bangkok, Thailand, with a technology company aiming to better the experience of travelers.
All right. And we have Johnathan. Johnathan, can you please introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Johnathan Yan, and I'm co-founder with Rowdy, CEO of RoamStay. And as Rowdy mentioned, we're looking to build a property management system for both travelers and homeowners.
All right. And I am Sean, the CMO of GSA. All right, let's get started. Boys, how familiar are you with AI?
I use it daily.
You use it daily?
Yeah.
All right.
Same here. We're always looking to add more efficiency, automation to everything that we're doing to streamline our workflows. So ChatGPT is a big part of our daily workflow.
All right. The thing is, though, I'll just start with some off-top beginning. Have you ever heard about Blue Sky?
Blue Sky, like when you're in a development meeting, you're talking about ideas and
it's actually like a project of Meta that they're working on now. So Blue Sky is supposed to be the first decentralized social media that came from the Meta Corporation. But of course, we all have doubts and we all have thoughts on it because it is being developed by the Meta. In general, what I actually would like to mention is, do you actually see the world and itself, like, for example, the things like Meta, Blue Sky, or, some other independent projects? Do you see the world by having its own decentralized social medias in the future?
Sure. I mean, I think anything is possible, but I think who is taking ownership of those companies is something that is a very important topic. If it's the Meta, I think that partly goes against the whole ethos of Web3 decentralization, where things should be more run by DAOs, right? Decentralized autonomous organizations.
Exactly.
I kind of feel like I think it's cool if a multinational trillion-dollar corporation is pushing the ball forward a little bit. I think it puts the onus on the little guy to think up a better idea and to find a different way and to get better. I mean, if anything, we've seen time and time again that technology can be dethroned by just a little guy. Just 6 months ago, if you had said that one guy is going to give Google a run for its money, we'd have laughed you out of the room.
Absolutely.
That's happened. So I think if there was no Goliath, would there be a David? I think it's part and parcel of humans' ingenuity to always want to say, I'm gonna beat that guy. I'm gonna find a way. So I think it's cool. I think it's fine. There's always gonna be for there to be a protagonist, there must be an antagonist. So I think it's fine. At the end of the day, I think people will always go to what's better. But
I think Jonathan actually had a very good point about DAOs.
Sure.
The actual DAOs running the actual decentralized social medias, DCCs. And in this case, where does the profit go to? I mean, where does the data go to? I mean, nowadays, all the social media we have, one of their main businesses is on selling data, right? It's on to selling the people our ideas, our vision, and everything that what we have. How will this work out? I mean, the DAOs should be powerful enough to overstand corporations like Meta in the fight for this. But as for what we're seeing from now, I personally don't really see a very clear solution on how this can happen. Yeah, but anyway, all right. First off, before asking the questions, and getting into the specific fields of expertise, I would like to ask you guys about your project. Right? if there's anything discrete still, and I think you can give us a brief, idea of what you're doing, so our audience will also know about, how is this gonna be looking in the future?
Yeah, sure. So our company is called RoamStay. Short is Roam, like you're moving around.
Yeah.
And we are a B2B2C, so business to business to customer. So on the B2C side, we are building a new generation mobile first hospitality platform that is trying to streamline things for property owners and travelers alike to provide an entire digital guest journey end to end. So things that we do differently than incumbents like Airbnb or Agoda. So if you think about the traveling and accommodation process into two steps, first is pre-booking, right? The ability to search, discover, find, and make a booking. But when you talk about the second portion, the post-booking experience, the checking in, connecting to third-party services, that's where we play a role. So we can do things like automating the check-in and checkout process. You get to our door, you can open up the room via Bluetooth without having a key or key card, or you can connect to third-party services. Mm-hmm. Right now we're in Thailand. Thailand is the 8th most toured country in the world, according to statistics in 2019.
Yep.
Bangkok is the number 1 city on tourists on arrival. But many foreigners who come here for the first time, they don't know what locals like Rowdy and I, who have been here for many years. So that's a pain point that we both felt on the B2C side. And briefly on the B2B side, we're providing a cloud-based property management platform that allows owners to manage both their short-term rental and long-term rental properties.
Can you please say it again? Because as our audience doesn't know, there's just a huge motorcycle just passed by.
Sure.
Please, the last part.
Okay. So on the B2C side, on the B2B side, we are building a cloud-based property management platform that allows owners to manage both their long-term and short-term rentals. So short-term rentals is the ability to post across Airbnb, Agoda, the availability, the pricing in real time. On the long-term rental side is the ability to manage on behalf of juristic offices, homeowner associations, so that these neighborhoods maintain the value for all the owners involved in that community.
All right. That sounds, I'm not really sure if I've heard any analogs to this idea. Are there any other apps or startups like this in the world right now? Do you guys have any?
It's very common. It's especially in the States, and it's a very common entity. This nonprofit entity is usually it's like a 503c corp. It's the homeowners association, or it could be COA, condominium owner association. And of course, like John mentioned, the point of it is to maintain the property values, thus maintaining the tax values, and the city benefits and the homeowners benefit because they're able to resell their home at a higher profit. And of course, for most American, Johnathan specifically, the real estate continues to be the largest vehicle for investment purposes. So people really care about their right of ownership. They want their home to maintain its value.
So, if explaining, for example, in a simple language for the people, let's say that it's not only making profit for the clients who are looking for a property to stay at during their short vacation in Phuket, but also for the business owners, for example, the property owners who are just visiting Phuket for like 2 months a year, and like 10 months of a year, their villa is just empty, right? They also want to have some kind of revenue out of it. It works both ways.
Yeah, definitely. On the short-term rental side, so something interesting is that for short-term rentals, they generally generate 3 to 4x more yield than long-term rentals. So let's say a property per month, if it was rented out, would generate $1,000. Short-term rentals owners, they can generate $3,000 to $4,000. And so that's where, when I started my journey on short-term rentals and then, met my co-founder, Rowdy had been working on long-term property management software for about 20 years, focused on the long-term rental side. So when we could marry the two, long-term rentals and short-term rentals, and give owners that flexibility to manage those long-term rentals, but flip it to short-term rentals, during the times that they may not be staying here or when there's a void and no long-term rental guests coming in, we said, wow, that would be a fantastic solution to marry the two.
And that specifically is what we're trying to achieve, and that synergy is not commonly found. We haven't found anybody else that does that is specific thing, being able to do both, flipping back and forth so easily. The reason is because, of course, short-term rentals, yes, they give you a much higher yield, but there is a lot more work involved. Turnover during the year, if you have a long-term rental, is one family. However, short-term rentals, it's a family a week. So there's a lot more involved in short-term rentals. And getting that extra 400% revenue, you have to do a lot more work. There's a lot more involved in it. So people aren't so readily available. They're not so ready to spend all that time figuring out how to coordinate all these services coming in and coming out, cleaning, checking in, checking out, taking payments.
And actually, one of our pilot and premier properties that we're working with is a property called Bahao, located in Chinatown in Bangkok. It's been featured on Bloomberg, New York Times. And so I stayed there for about 2 weeks on a short-term rental purpose, found it on Airbnb. On one of the nights during my stay, the guests below me, they lost their key at 2-3 a.m. They came up to my room, started banging on the door. Hey, do you know any spare keys? I said, hey, I'm a fellow traveler like you, right? Maybe you should try contacting the homeowner. But should homeowners wake up at 2-3 a.m. for this kind of situation? So that's what started clicking on the short-term rental side. Hey, can we automate these pain points? The check-in and check-out is such a massive problem. People generally, even for a boutique property that has 4 units, they need to hire a front desk. It's not just one person, one shift, but it's 2 people, 2 different shifts per day.
Or even 3 if you want to cover 24 hours. And it just gets more and more difficult from there.
Yeah.
I mean, what about maintenance? What about if the toilet springs a leak? These are emergencies for the customer, for the guest. I mean, this is their vacations. Sometimes people take vacations once a year, and to have something like this ruin your vacation, that's just not acceptable. So there needs to be ways to fix these issues seamlessly.
So just like at a high level, I think one thing that differentiates us quite a bit is not only do we have a B2B software that allows owners and property developers to manage both their short and long-term rentals, but we also empower owners with a digital hospitality brand on the short-term rental side to wrap their properties around and provide an unparalleled guest experience, not just automating things, but connecting it to third-party services, right? To amazing restaurants, bars, whatever it may be that the traveler wants.
No, rides to the beach.
All right. And your business is primarily going to be focused first in Thailand, right?
So, on the short-term rental side, we are starting in Thailand because Thailand is one of the largest hospitality markets in the world.
Yep.
However, on the long-term side, leveraging the expertise of Rowdy, who has been working on long-term property management software on behalf of homeowner associations, which are like juristic offices in this side of the world, we will be onboarding a large property management firm with 100 neighborhoods and 10,000 homes in the U.S. To get the long-term rental side kickstarted.
Okay. So talking about Thailand, talking about, the new technologies that are coming to the Southeast Asia in general, I would like to address my first question to Johnathan. How do you visualize in general, as a person who has been abroad, has traveled the world in some way, how do you visualize the impact of, let's say, this new technologies, Web3, blockchain in general, on the Southeast Asian region?
Oh, yeah. I think what's quite remarkable in this side of the world is that a lot of technologies may have been built on the Western side of the world, but the adoption rates, the usage rates on this side of the world, particularly, relating to mobile, internet penetration, is just on another level. And so we're definitely very excited to, not only explore research, but implement the newest technologies from AI and Web3. So some things that we find quite fascinating is you have a lot of short-term rental travelers that will come to this side of the world, and they may really like the place that they stayed at. And so, one, area that we're, researching and looking into very heavily is if we create a portfolio of the properties that we work with and, offer fractional investing into those properties. So not only are those travelers really enjoying those stays, but they could also participate by investing into a fraction of it and generate some rental yield from one of their favorite properties that they often like to go to.
Oh, sounds like a DAO.
It does. It does in general.
It's like a modern day version of the timeshares that you used to visit in Disneyland, but it's something you actually want to visit every year. Because that's the thing about Thailand is people visit once and then twice.
And then they keep coming back.
Every year for the rest of their life.
Exactly.
It's one of those places.
Yeah. Rowdy, how many years have you been in programming for?
Programming, it's going on 20 years now, about 18 years.
20 years. So
Man, long time.
I can bravely call you a veteran, right? There are so many young kids that are just joining, learning the Python. You know, they're trying to jump into the industry and things like that. But within, like, as speaking us on the the very middle of 2022, as Johnathan already mentioned, ChatGPT, we have, so many generators that can generate the codes by themselves, and things like that. What, in your perspective as the programmer, how do you think, how will this whole new wave of technology impact the ordinary daily life or the positions that the programmers are keeping at the moment right now? How do you see it?
I see it like a tool to be used like anything else, really. On my day-to-day, it's not like ChatGPT is able to teach me something.
Okay.
I may be able to learn a new method that someone else has been using in their code, and ChatGPT is copying it and showing it to me. I'm like, hey, that's pretty cool. I've learned something, but it's not an entirely new method of thinking or anything. I'm still applying the same programming principle that I would have applied anyway. I think what ChatGPT allows me to do is it helps me get through the boring parts of programming quicker. For example, when you're creating some kind of a back-end system and you have to go through and make the models, and you're going to build these models out eventually, but you have to stuff them out and you have to do the boring parts. You have to, start creating these basic models. You make it once, and then from that point on, you can just tab through the rest of it, and it builds it for you. You're going to build on it later. That's not the complete program. It doesn't know what I'm trying to do. It doesn't have the ingenuity, the capacity to understand what I'm trying to achieve, but it knows what I did before, and it helps me get there quicker. I think this saves me time. I can get to the good, juicy parts faster and get the boring parts over with quicker. I think it's a great tool. I think carpenters didn't say, "Oh no, there's a saw. I can never work again." They just learned how to use it, and the better carpenters became even better because they're able to use their tools better. So I think programmers can just use these tools and better their skill.
Actually, I can, have a thought on what you just said.
Sure.
Also about, just the AI replacing all the programmers in the world, things like that. So back in the days, people were playing basketball they had the basket itself, but there was no net. So whenever you're getting that shot and you're putting the basketball inside of the basket, it wasn't falling down. There was a special man who was, anytime there was a ball in the basket, he was taking his ladder, coming up, putting up the ladder, getting all the way up, taking the ball back into the game to the people.
Mm.
That was the job back in the days. Then someone come up with the net. So the ball started falling down by gravitation by itself, and the guy lost his job. A lot of people, not a lot, but some of the people lost their job as well. This is basically the amplification of, let's say, some kind of example of how the world is evolving to this day, and that people are scared about their future and about their tomorrow, that they won't be able to find new jobs and things like that. Humanity was always evolving. It was always evolution. So I don't really think there's such a high risk in letting the AI do more than our lives.
Yeah, I think we all know that as technology progresses, the easier parts of the job are covered by technology. Like the assembly line got rid of a lot of workers, and then now robots are taking care of the assembly line. It's getting better and better, but there still have to be people to do the things that need to be done. So I think I think we can go on. We can further remove ourselves from the boring parts of the job, and like I said before, and find the better parts of the job, the more fun, more interesting parts, and focus on those.
Yeah, I actually spoke to one of the very old guys in Patong part of the area. He was into programming before, and I asked him. He was a very anti-AI guy, and I asked him, "All right, why are you so anti-AI?" And he's, of course, the same points that we're all discussed right now, and also some of the points from the old school, type of vision. And what he told me is that, yeah, I totally hate it. I will never use it ever in my life. And I said, all right, what do you use for translator here in Thailand? Like, how do you talk with Thai people? He was like, I use Google. And I said, but isn't Google Translate an AI generated tool? And he was trying to avoid the embarrassment by telling me that it's actually just a generation of a lot of vocabularies altogether that is not actually, the AI, but it is the AI.
So we all know.
All right. Actually, also talking about Patong, I was in one of the Japanese restaurants in one of the days, and I wanted to order the ramen that I always have with bacon. And I asked the staff, like, all right, I'm going to order this one. And they said, sorry, we don't have any bacon now. And I asked them why. And they said, because in the north east part of Thailand, there was a flood. And there's the roads, they are they're severely damaged, and we can't take any pork out down here to south. And I don't know, they came up with some kind of this thing. But what I'm trying to say is that apart from all of the topics that we discussed, the actual real thing that we need as humans is food. Like just a simple pork. Somebody loves bacon. Somebody can't eat beef and things like that. They need alternatives. So talking about the food shortage, let's say, I'm gonna change the topic in a very completely different way, and I want to ask, for example, you, Johnathan, in general. Sorry for the off top, but global food shortage.
Okay.
Some of the problems that we might not face now, but we might face in a decade or 2 decades or 3 decades, let's say. How familiar are you with the blockchain technology itself? Just as a question.
Yeah, I'm familiar to a certain extent. I think the applications relating particularly to food and agriculture, I'm not as familiar with, but more towards prop tech or real estate we are familiar with. Okay. But I think the applications of blockchain relating to reducing the amount of human labor involved, the increased speed of transactions, the ability to make those deals and transactions more secure. Those are all generally applicable across any kind of industry when it's relating to blockchain.
Yeah, our company has been working on some of actual agricultural digitalization solutions for some time already, because some of the people in our company are very concerned about this problem of food shortage. Because let's say in the countries of Central Asia, there might not be enough water in upcoming 5 years, just water. Not talking about beef, not talking about bacon and things like that, just water. Water is already, huge. I mean, it probably belongs to the agriculture as well, right? Because that's what we consume. So I would like to talk a little bit about, let's say, implication of blockchain and Web3 in general, or maybe even AI in the industry of agriculture. So we can, foresee and forecast these things and imply them now. So not only us, but maybe our children and grandchildren won't really need to, be drained for a long time. Do you guys have any thoughts on this?
I think it's pretty cool what a lot of companies are doing to track carbon offsets. There's a couple of friends that I have actually here in Phuket that are working on something like that. Carbon offsets, selling them to other companies across the world. There's a lot of farmers in the north of and the northeast of Thailand who are willing to sell their carbon offsets to help other companies. I may not specifically agree with that sort of idea, but at the same time, that you can apply that same idea to something like this, where, keeping track of, a global ledger of how much people are using, sometimes you'll see people here watering the sidewalk, literally, so it's like, wow, why are you watering the sidewalk? That water could, if they were being taxed or being taken, if they were being, a little bit more conscious of exactly of their water usage, that could go somewhere else that's actually needed. So if I think blockchain is a perfect example of a situation where you can actually track these sorts of things. Because otherwise, how would you be able to hold anyone accountable? But with blockchain, you actually could. So these things have, I think, an application in a wider sense, and I think they could be used to better police ourselves and helping us to conserve our resources, which are, as you said, infinitely important. If we don't have water, we have nothing, and then we're dead.
Yeah. One thing that I think is particularly interesting relating to blockchain, right, is how, like, the utilization of smart contracts, so that you're not having people negotiate every single deal, or large multinational corporations that have all the power. Something that's, already been constructed in a meaningful way, that all the stakeholders have been involved in that process. And, those deals and contracts and the supply chain gets moved in a more automated fashion. So I think that would definitely help with easing the transition from, lack of, resource scarcity being involved, and how can we be more efficient with that supply chain, from upstream down to the end customer.
That is actually what we're actually doing in some of the Southeast Asian countries already, by digitalizing the supply chain, getting out of the gray zone export, as they call it. Because when you come to the agriculture of any country, third world country, let's say, most of the export is in the gray zone, because it can't, there's no way that the authorities can all gather and weigh what this actually, how many tons of millions of tons there is, or, the people who are just checking on the export on going away. It's just trains. It's mainly trains or trucks that they just let pass because they have, for example, Thai plates, or they have Malaysian plates, and it's just going out of the country. This is one of the huge issue that we're working on at the moment. And I hope that, we'll see some of the results in the upcoming years. But let's not get so, please.
Yeah, and I think if you're able to automate and streamline some of those things, the people could be better utilized towards quality control inspection, right? Something like, less than 1% of all the food, being imported into the US is not even inspected by the FDA. So as a result, we have a lot of artificial fake foods coming in, and that's probably across the board into every country. So I think that's, just one example of how utilizing Web3, AI, various, next gen, technologies allows us to free up people to do things that are more critically important, and allowing us to use technology to automate things that we don't need people to be involved in. There will always be need for people to do things. And so I think just about allocating those resources efficiently.
Absolutely. Yes. But let's not get very pessimistic. And of course, there are issues, a lot of issues for us, for the individuals, for the corporations, for the society in general. But we are now in Thailand, Phuket, Southeast Asia. There are a lot of places, you guys could have chosen, let's say, Singapore, Hong Kong, KL, Jakarta, a huge, mega, super huge cosmopolitan cities with, all the accelerators and things that you need for a startup. But you chose, a very quiet place, this little paradise. What do you guys think on, the actual culture of startups in the Southeast Asia and as we are now in Southeast Asia?
Definitely a challenge. definitely a challenge, especially, I mean, we're both from, literally Silicon Valley. I was born in San Jose. So it's a little different. You have to kind of really look for it here. It's not so easy. Lucky for me, my co-founder is excellent at drumming up support from investors and business people alike. But otherwise, I think it's a big challenge for especially for maybe not speaking the locals who have a good idea or they're good at something and they want to go out and get it. They want to get theirs. It's very difficult for them to do that. I think it's increasingly difficult, especially when the world is looking to the West for money and they're maybe looking. They're saying, "Well, what can you do here in Thailand?" So I think it becomes more and more difficult as the world becomes more globalized. People look to the big economies for money, and maybe it's the little guy who kind of suffers here in Southeast Asia. I've seen that. It's not so easy here.
Yeah. So on that same coin, we find it very exciting. I think, there may not be as many competitors to things that we're building, and we may have expertise in certain areas and thinking about, critically analyzing these pain points and how do we apply technology across the chain to solve, both homeowners, travelers, pain points on both sides. Secondly, I think that, one thing that we're quite interested in is as our business grows, we want to be, supporting the technology economy here. Thailand and Southeast Asia in general, there's a lot of entrepreneurs, right? There's, people, selling food on the side of the street, starting coffee, and hospitality is great. And so if we're able, to help support that ecosystem by sharing our learnings as we grow, scale, and develop, Rowdy, you can touch on this a bit more, but we're thinking about, over time, starting a nonprofit to help, the youth get into technology earlier, right? Just building that mindset. Hey, how do I be, a software engineer? How do I build something, and leverage the, experiences that my family has had as entrepreneurs? And so there's a lot of things that we're excited to be working on, and there may be some challenges, but we both, really love Thailand so much. And so we really hope that, we're able to, make Roam into something meaningful and able to contribute and get back to the community.
About loving Thailand, I'm on the same side of you guys. About having... All right, let these guys pass just a sec. Wow, beautiful looking people. Talking about that we have two guests from the Silicon Valley. I mean, I didn't know that. So I'm even more honored at the moment because this is a tech podcast, things like that. So I think in general, I wish the very best luck to your project and to your project in general. You guys are kind of the yin yang that are completing each other.
Which?
All right. Yan is more closer to yin yang, so he's yang. You're yin. Yeah, you're the dark side. Is he the dark side?
Rowdy, what do you think?
After last week walking in the sun all day, yeah, I think so.
Absolutely. So, do you guys have any, anything else to share or any, opinions, any questions that is bothering you or something?
Visit Thailand.
Visit Thailand. Expo 2028, right?
Yeah. I mean, thank you for this stimulating discussion. I think Web3 AI is something that we continually to think about, and we employ, using ChatGPT, and we, definitely encourage our colleagues to continue to use that. The world is changing in a massive way that we may not fully understand, but I think is, in general, just trying to be optimistic about where the world is going to and how we can be a value add to society while using these technologies. So the whole, dark side, of using these technologies, I think, there have been uncoverings of it. From all the thefts related to stealing crypto wallets, and how we could use AI to build something that could hurt people's lives. Yeah, but overall, we're just really excited to be here, to have this discussion, and I think it's also helped frame something in our minds and how we can use Web3, AI, leading edge technologies, to make a positive impact on society. And it's not just about properties; it's about agriculture, right? It's about solving climate change. I mean, there's so many issues at hand, and how it can just free up people's time in solving for more of the critically important things. And that's what we're excited to be part of.
We're inheriting a really messed up world, so we got to use technology in our corner to fix it. So I think that we can do that if you do it right. We employ technology and goodwill. We'll do that.
Beautiful thoughts. Nothing else I can add. Maybe the only thing is that I truly, looking forward on showing my grandchildren this video, telling them that, see, I was with the Forbes number 12. I used to talk with him. I used to shake his hand. We'll see, we'll see how the things go. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rowdy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Johnathan. All right. That's it for today. Please subscribe our channel. Please comment on any thoughts that you have below. And welcome to the tropical, very special edition of the GSA podcast. All right. Thank you.